Savazidim Om Guru Bezadara Varagam Bez Vagera Sumade Jana Shazanat Jerabanda Savazidim Om Guru Varagam Bez Jere Vagera Sumade Jana Shazanat Jerabanda Savazidim Om Guru Bezadara Varagam Vagera Sumade Jana Shazanat Dara Samandash Savazede ho omo bezadara bara raga bezejere vageraz jana jazana dara samanajere savazede ho omo bezadara bara raga bezejere vageraz jana jazana dara samanajere zede ho omo guram bara raga bezejere vageraz samade jana jazana Jere bara zavazede omo agara. 上無よ十九無そうそう しょろそでそちょるそちょぬちょぬおもちょぬよごしゅちゅそういうそうもろそうとるしょろそうで
So today we are going to do the Manjushri Jenang, the permission initiation. And so for that I need to do some preparatory ritual. And therefore so if we have to recite the Manjushri Namasangiti, the general public may not know this. But let us recite the Arapatana mantra of Manjushri. So everyone, old and young. So when I actually meet with children, I suggest them to recite the Arapatana mantra to improve their intelligence. This is homage to Manjushri, who has youthful appearance. Please, everyone, recite.
Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma araba, Oma arabazanade, 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 Oma arabazan, Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazan. Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma araban. Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma arab. Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma arabaz. Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazan. Nade Oma arabazanade, Oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma bazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araban. Oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arab. Oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arab. Ozan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan oma arabazan. Arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi 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 oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma araba. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arab. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arab. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma ara. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. 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 Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan. Oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi oma arabazan hadi.
Beautiful appearance. Changwa. Changwa is like holding. Now affection with the light of reason, supreme knowledge, you clear the darkness of naivety from the mind, firmly please the light of confident intelligence to fully fathom the classic text of Buddha's words and their commentaries. So next, the disciples make prostration and rinse themselves. So usually we do the gektor, which is dharma offering to drive away any interfering forces. So of course the other lamas may follow the tradition as they wish, but for me personally, I think of all sentient beings liberate all sentient beings, and therefore none of the sentient beings actually I think of as my adversaries or enemies. And so in the past, when we were in Tibet, during this kind of ritual, this part of the ritual, lamas would say that these evil forces are driven across the great ocean. And whereas today we are in India, for example, and the ocean is not that far from us, and then we would also have to, if we drive the evil forces from here, we would have to drive them towards America. So this preliminary dharma offering, ritual cake offering, to do that, I always think that I should help all sentient beings, and so I do not do this gektor, the dharma offering, to drive away the evil forces as such. So having generated the spirit of enlightenment, since we make this prayer that I call upon all sentient beings before the Buddhas to the feast of temporary and ultimate goal of enlightenment, and therefore all the gods, human, non-gods, and so forth, should be joyous. So the other lamas, you may follow the tradition. In Bhutan, you have lots of sacred dance and also making torgyak offerings, the ritual cake, missile offerings, sort of. So in Tibet, we did that practice too, but nothing really helped. But instead, if we could actually think of bodhicitta, then none of the sentient beings would be considered your enemies and adversaries as to be crushed and so forth. So there's no need necessarily to do the mandala. She made this great Dharma drum, dispel the miseries of sentient beings. May you live for inconceivable eons to teach the Dharma. So today is what we are going to go through is a teaching that comes within the Tantra. As I made the distinction between the general structure teaching and the specialized teachings, so the rest of the teachings, like the Sutrayana, belong to this general structure teaching, whereas Tantra is a specialized teaching tailored specifically for the specific disciples and so forth, according to their mental dispositions. And so the Buddha gave the tantric teachings. So within Tantra, there are 4 sets of Tantra, or 6 external and 6 internal Tantras, such as the Kriya Upayoga and Maha-Anuati, the 3 each. So whether you call it the external Tantras or the which could refer to the Kriya Tantra and Kriya, Charya and Yoga Tantras. So these are the preliminary to the highest Yoga Tantra, the Anuttara Yoga Tantras, in which you find the specialty of the actual specialty and profundity of Tantra. So in the Prajaparamita Sutras, it is said that everything from a physical form up to omniscient mind, everything is empty of any inherent existence, which is explained in there of Mula Madhyamaka Karika of Nagarjuna as well. And so to meditate on that emptiness, with regard to the mind that we use, we have the two different kinds of mind. One is the adventitious gross state, and then the other is the innate clear light mind. The substantial condition for the Dharmakaya, the Jnanakaya of a Buddha is the innate clear light mind. And therefore, to have the complete course for Buddhahood, omniscient state, this gross state of mind cannot be the substantial cause, whereas this innate clear light, luminous mind should be used to meditate on emptiness. So we need to think along the line that I had quoted in one of the previous days, which is to say that the peaceful, profound, peaceful, non-elaborated and unconditioned luminosity. So we should need to think along this line, particularly luminous, unconditioned thing. And so, in Tantra, this clear light mind is also in Tantra termed as the Vajrasattva, without beginning and end. And in the Dzogchen tradition, there is the distinction made between Sem, which is the deluded mind, and the Rigpa, or the pristine awareness, is that which is not tainted by it. In Tantra, we have the isolation of body, speech, and mind. And within the mental isolation, there is the Vajra recitation. And through that, the gross wind energies are dissolved into the central channel. And so the ultimate example clear light is what is used there in this isolation, mind of mental isolation. So in Tantra, we use the innate clear light mind. It becomes active in our experience, and that is absorbed in emptiness. And so Kunken Lama Jamyang Sherpa, in his root text of the philosophical systems, although emptiness is taught in the Sutrayana, the mind, the subtlest mind that meditates on emptiness is not taught there, whereas the obscuration to knowledge is also those shown or in the Sutrayana, but the Tantra has the supreme method to overcome it. Therefore, except Tantra, that of the obscuration, the antidote, the actual antidote to the obscuration to knowledge is not taught anywhere else. And therefore, we need to study this kind of text, and then we need also to study the Shentong view, the extrinsic emptiness view. When we come to explain the clear light, innate clear light mind, even in Goya Samaja Tantra, there is the mention of the four empty states, and that actually is what Shentong is. So when we talk about Tamje Tongpa vessel, which means the emptiness of all appearances, so all emptiness, that is Shentong. when we go to the 4 empty states in the dissolution process. In short, the Jnanakaya, the wisdom body of a Buddha, is a composite phenomena, which means that it has to come through its own causes, which is similar to it, a homogeneous cause. And therefore, that cause is the innate clear light mind. Not only that, in the state of Buddhahood, there is the Sambhogakaya, the complete enjoyment body, the Nirmanakaya, emanation body, and the Dharmakaya. So these 3 bodies in the Buddhahood, state of Buddhahood must come through their own course, which is compatible to them. And therefore, it is mentioned most clearly in Guhyasamaja Tantra, so that innate clear light mind is, which is attained at the trainee level, union state of a trainee level. For that, you need to attain that of the meaning clear light. And before that, that has to be preceded by the illusory attainment of illusory body through the accumulation of merit and wisdom. And therefore, you need also to attain that the example clear light, the final example clear light. And so there is the 3 practices or the attainment of the physical isolation, speech isolation, and the mental isolation. So which are to purify the body, speech, and mind. So these must happen in sequence. And so, in other words, generating this clear light, the innate clear light mind, as the mind realizing emptiness, then you need to transform this clear light mind together with its mount, which is the subtlest wind energy. So these 2 are always together, and although we cannot distinguish them physically as such, but they are distinguished on the basis of conceptual understanding. And then, with regard to the tantric practice, we use the channels and the chakras. And in the Guhyasamaja Tantra, there is the Vajra recitation. In the Mother Tantras, the Tummo, the mystic inner heat. And so this should be taken from the Mother Tantras when you do even Guhyasamaja Tantra, the Father Tantras. And then you need to use the bearing or holding the vase, the wind, and try to release those knots, the knots that are in the central channel. So one Kagyu Lama told me that to check whether you have actually accomplished the control on wind energy within yourself, you actually have a heap of sand on a table, and you point your finger towards that, and if you are able to blow the sand through the finger, that's one sign of having accomplished the control over wind energy. So there are, it's really possible if we are able to do the practices correctly. So with regard to the Tummo practice, the inner heat, even the non-Buddhists have this practice. So I was planning to go to Kumbh Mela. So in the past, when I went to Kumbh Mela, I mean, of course, there are Indian sadhus who practice a whole year in the Himalaya mountains and amongst the snow-peaked mountains. So I was thinking of having some discussions with these sadhus, meditators. So, but I felt rather these days I feel exhausted more easily, which is a sign of aging, and so I couldn't go to the Kumbh Mela. So, of course, the Vajra recitation is not there in the non-Buddhist traditions, whereas the Tumu and other practices such as the Poa, the projecting the mind out of your body, and also transference of the consciousness into another body are there. So since we do not have practitioners who have these experiences among our practitioners, I felt desperate to try to seek the assistance of the non-Buddhist practitioners. So, of course, we have in our text the high realizations and so forth, but if we really need to pinpoint, it seems there is not real example that we can have. I mean, people who are experienced in these high realizations and experiences, which shows as the rarity of practitioners. So in Serame, you have a meditation center that you have created, which I blessed. So are there anyone practicing meditation? And the Serame abbots reported to His Holiness. There are 4 of them. So that's better than nothing. And then in Drebung Gomang also, you have set a meditation center. Are there any meditators in their place? So whatever we actually try to explain regarding the experiences, we need to support it with practitioners who have the experience. Otherwise, it would just be a lip service. And with regard to the teaching of the Buddha, it is twofold, which is the scriptural teachings as well as realizational teachings. And Master Vasubandhu says to preserve this, there is only these 2 ways, which is study and practice. And so the Buddha Dharma should not be just lip service, but it should be integrated within oneself, so that you are able to explain the teachings extensively and profoundly through reason and so forth, as well as practice and gain experience of them. And therefore, through one's teachings and also gaining experience, we should be able to preserve the teaching of the Buddha, not through some kind of a ritual dance, charm. So in Tantra, in India, Tantra was practiced very secretly. One Lama may give teaching to his disciple very secretly, whereas in Tibet, Tantra became prevalent. It spread throughout the length and breadth of Tibet. On the one hand, we are very fortunate that we have the complete teaching of the Buddha, the Vinaya, the Sutrayana comprising the Pali and Sanskrit tradition, as well as the Tantras, all the Tantra teachings. So the profundity of Tantra must come through deity yoga practice. And so here we are going to do the blessing of Manjushri, which comes within the Kriya Tantra set. So though there are many different special deities to practice, there are these compilations called Rinjung Gyatsa and Sugar Gyatsa and so forth. meter gyatso and so forth, which show all these different types of deities. So I received this Rinjung Gyatso from Tata Rinpoche in my childhood. So there are few Manjushri blessings, permissions in it, and of them, this Manjushri that I'm giving the blessing permission is the orange Manjushri named Arapatana. So though I have not done any special retreat as such on this or practice, but since my childhood I've been doing the practice on this deity. This is the tea with three inconceivables, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and making this offering of tea to the three inconceivables. So today the weather is clear, very clear. So Manjushri is said to be dispelling the darkness of the three worlds. I don't know if this is true, but at least in Dharamsala, the darkness has been dispelled. So here we are particularly concerned with the dispelling the darkness, inner darkness. Okay. His Holiness is asking the Bhutanese Lama if he needs hot tea. So with regard to the deity yoga practice, in order to have this kind of a blessing or a permission, to have ideally to receive this kind of a permission, you need to have received a full-fledged initiation. So those who have not received any full-fledged initiation, you may visualize the deity Manjushri on your crown. So the Manjushri here is orange in color, holding in his right hand the double-edged sword, and in his left hand the scripture. So there are three Manjushris on the forehead, throat, and heart. White on the forehead or crown, and red in the at the throat, and then blue at the heart. So at these 3 points, you need to visualize these three Manjushris of your body, speech, and mind. So the Manjushri and the Lama from whom you are receiving this initiation has to be visualized and imagined as the embodiment of all three objects of refuge. So from the Manjushri that you imagine should be imagined as a deity who has the ability, the capability, the power to dispel all your darkness of ignorance from one's mind stream. And so I do the practice of the combined practice of peaceful and wrathful Manjushri every day. And so these 4 types of intelligence or wisdom, the great wisdom or vast wisdom, and clear, profound, and the swift wisdom are really something that you can accomplish if you really do practice on Manjushri. This is from my own experience, I can tell this. When this happens, your intelligence doesn't go astray. It becomes a good, positive intelligence. So through the blessing of Manjushri, when you critically analyze scriptures, you'll be able to analyze them correctly. And this also helps in developing your wisdom to develop bodhicitta, which leads one to that of the state of omniscience. So it's something really unique, uncommon. So we as human beings have this marvelous brain, unique. So this is something that we have naturally, and in order to be able to see things from a wider perspective and also in depth, see things in depth, you need, these are the different wisdoms. The profound wisdom is that wisdom with which you can actually make decisions, saying this is this because of this and that. And similarly, to see things from a wider perspective without losing sight of the goal and so forth is that of the vast wisdom and so forth. So as human beings, if we are able to think of the welfare of other sentient beings, you will see that the benefit of it. This is helped by wisdom, your intelligence. Whereas if you remain closed-minded, selfish, you can see how it harms yourself. So if we are able to develop wisdom and intelligence to a greater extent, then we'll see how we can overcome the problems that beset the world today. Lots of killings of human beings. And therefore, the narrow-mindedness that we have should be overcome through wisdom. And so here, so when we talk about wisdom or intelligence, it is that discernment which sees things correctly. So it's not just in relation to the dharma as such, the religion, but anything. So if we are able to look at the world today, the materialistic world is what we are actually indulging in. But this is not enough. To see that this is not enough, we need wisdom. And therefore, through the blessing of Manjushri, if you are able to develop your wisdom further and further to actually make discern what is right, and it will really help even the world at health. If I may boast about something, although I am in my 80s, I still have a very bright, I'm still bright. So why this is so is because I have been reciting Manjushri mantra since my childhood. On the one hand, it may be blessing also of Manjushri. Avalokiteshvara has no choice but to give me blessings because Manjushri wields his sword. And if we are to compete the Manjushri's sword with the Vajrapani's Vajra, the Manjushri's sword would win. So from my experience, I'm certain that the Manjushri has a special role in developing one's intelligence and wisdom. So understanding this, please repeat these. So please bestow me this, the treasure of wisdom, this supreme intelligence. So next is Bodhisattva vows, taking the Bodhisattva vows. So in order for the Buddha Dharma to really become a teaching of the Buddha, without taking refuge, it's very difficult for that to happen. Whereas to make the Mahayana teaching an actual Mahayana teaching itself, the Bodhisattvas, Bodhisattvayana, without the Bodhicitta, it doesn't become a Mahayana Dharma as such. So we need actually to understand this, that this has to do with your mind. So the Lama should be visualized as Manjushri. And in the altar, also you should imagine there is Manjushri. And so imagine in the space the Buddha Shakyamuni surrounded by the 7 successors to the Buddha, the 6 ornaments and 2 sublime masters, and the 16 arahats. Regarding them, I'm quite hard-headed when it comes to talking about the 16 arahats. They have not written any text that can help the Buddha Dharma. How do they then serve the Dharma? There's one verse which is said to be ascribed to Rahula, which is the praise to the perfection of wisdom, the mother of all the Buddhas. So there's no teaching that we can actually find that has come from the 16 arahats. So who are the ones who actually has left a legacy for in the teaching of the Buddha? So there are the masters like Manjushri, Master Nagarjuna, and so forth. So Master Nagarjuna and his disciples, and then Master Asanga and his disciples and followers, and those of Dignaga and Dharmakirti. So the preservation and the promotion of the Buddha Dharma has been done by these great masters of India. I really admire them. Of course, we do a lot of recitation of the prayer to the 16 arahats. It may be helping the Dharma, but they don't really have any writings of themselves. Maybe the 16 arahats have to do with what the Chinese tradition do. So in Chinese tradition, the monks have their robes with sleeves, and so the Chinese masters may have been practiced by the Chinese, these 16 elders may have been practiced by the Chinese masters, but I don't know if there are any cooks amongst them, the 16 arahats, because they need also to take tea and food as well, don't they? So the 17 Nalanda masters also surround the Buddha, and together with it, there's Master Mahasiddha Saraha and so forth. And then the Nyingma masters of the Tibetan traditions, the Khenlop Chösum, King Chösung Detsen, Guru Padma Sambhava, and the master, the Abbot Chandrakshita. And then Sakya Lamdre, Tsokshin Lopshe lineage masters. And then the Kagyu masters, all the 4 in major and 8 minor Kagyu traditions, and then the Kadam masters, the old Kadam tradition, George, Adisha, and so forth, and Master Tsongkhapa and his followers, the Kadams, the new tradition of the Kadams. And then also those of the Puluk, the Pudun's tradition, and so forth, and Jonang. So imagine all the objects of refuge complete in the space. So with this in mind, you do the practice of taking refuge in them, confessing your misdeeds, and rejoicing in the good deeds of all beings, and then take bodhisattva vows. So all joys in the world, joys and happiness in the world come from thinking of others' well-being, whereas all sorrows and misery come from thinking only of one's own well-being. And so what needs is there more to say? Look at the Buddhas who have reached enlightenment and those of us who are remained in samsara. And so if you are really full of concern. I mean, if you think, full of that altruistic attitude, thinking of the benefit of others, you will be relaxed and you will really have a true peace of mind. And so, Master Shantideva says, which intelligent person would despair to ride the horse of bodhicitta, which leads one from bliss and bliss? So although bodhicitta may be difficult in the beginning, but if you study Bodhisattva Charya Avatara by Shantideva, you will see that of course this is possible to develop, and so you will have that courage. And so you need to therefore reflect on and think and contemplate bodhicitta, and in order to be able to do that, you need also again to have this kind of human intelligence, and wisdom must support it. And so as human beings, being born as human beings, we have met with the Buddha Dharma, and so think that you will make this life a worthy one, and therefore to serve. You should also think of serving the Buddha Dharma through the practice of bodhicitta and the wisdom of emptiness, which is what the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas have done, and therefore they are able to help sentient beings. And therefore, with this in mind, so first, as they also, the Bodhisattvas and Buddhas in the past, have developed bodhicitta and then trained themselves in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise, I will do so. So as it is found in Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, you should have, from the depths of your heart, the faith in these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And so, if you really believe in this, then you should first develop that of a bodhicitta and take bodhisattva vows. And so please kneel on your right knee. If you have bad legs, that's an exception. Please repeat. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all beings. I take to mind Buddha's enlightenment. To the Buddha Dharma in the highest assembly, I seek refuge until I reach enlightenment. To fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate the mind for awakening. Having generated the mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delighting supreme practices of enlightenment. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. So, in this text, we find mentioned to fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I should generate the mind for awakening. So to fulfill one's own goal or the goal of others, there's nothing, no other factor than bodhicitta that we can practice. And then the text also says, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. So having generated bodhicitta, you are saying that you should pledge that from this day on, I will work for the benefit of others. So there's nothing else that I should do other than serving sentient beings and leading them to higher rebirth, and finally to that of the Buddhahood. So I shall invite all such beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delightful supreme practices of enlightenment. So delightful means that it is the bodhisattva practices are those which only help sentient beings. So just as I shall lead all sentient beings to the Buddhahood, I will also seek to attain Buddhahood. And as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, as my witness, I pledge that I will engage in the practices of Bodhisattvas, the 6 paramitas and so forth. Please repeat for the second time. I seek refuge in these rituals. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all deep beings. I take to mind Buddha's enlightenment. To the Buddha Dhamma and His highest assembly, I seek refuge until I am enlightened. To fulfill the interest of oneself and that I should generate the mind for awakening. Having generated the mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delightful supreme practices of enlightenment. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. So having said it 2 times, at the end of the 3rd repetition, when you say to fulfill the interest of oneself and others, I should generate mind, this awakening mind, that is the aspirational bodhicitta, and having generated that highest awakening, I shall invite the sentient beings and engage in the delightful supreme practice of enlightenment, is that of may I attain Buddhahood, and so forth, is that of engaging bodhicitta. Please repeat. I seek refuge in the 3 jewels. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all beings. To the Buddha Dhamma and His assembly, I seek refuge until I reach enlightenment. To fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate the mind for awakening. Having generated the mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delighting supreme practices of enlightenment. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. Next. Today my life has borne fruit. I have attained an excellent human existence. Today I am born into the Buddha's family, and now I have become a Buddha's child. Now come what may, I shall act in accord with this lineage, never causing this impeccable noble lineage to be tarnished. Please sit down. As it is said in the Bodhisattva Charyavatana, with regard to the benefits and the great qualities of bodhicitta. So finding bodhicitta is like finding a treasure amongst the garbage and so forth. And also bodhicitta is like the sun that dispels the darkness of the whole world, and it is like the butter that is churned from the milk of the ocean of dharma and so forth. So if you really consider others to be your friends rather than enemies, I mean, you will not really find them disturbing or anything. And so for your physical health, well-being, it really, bodhicitta helps. And those who are lost in or fatigued on the path of existence, for them, bodhicitta is like this, the shade, for a tree that gives a cool shade. And so, if you really dedicate yourself for others, then you will really find yourself to be as if in this state of peacefulness. Although physically you may be in samsara, in your mind you are as if in liberation. It is that moon that gives the cool light for those who are fatigued on the traveling on the samsara path. So bodhicitta is that which satisfies all your guests, the sentient beings. Now, to set the basis for the blessing, What that means is it's not enough just to have faith in the three jewels, and not enough also just to have bodhicitta. So because we are dealing with Tantra here, you need to train your mind to overcome clinging and appearance of the clinging to the appearance of ordinariness of oneself and the others. So this gross body should not be held precious or anything. Although the subtle mind and wind are not yet manifest in us, but in your visualization, you should actually this gross body and mind should go out of your perception by using the gross mind. The different appearances dissolve. And so because you are meditating on emptiness, your mind is absorbed in emptiness, then that mind arises. From there arises that mind arises into the deity. And so that's what is meant by setting the basis for the practice. So here it's good to say the Om Swabhava mantra. Yesterday we encroached the three syllables A, U, and Ma, which make up Om. And so these three letters within Om, A, U, and Ma represents body, speech, and mind. And Swabhava Shuddha means inherently pure or purified. So what that shows is that of the selflessness of persons. And in order to be able to realize this fully, you need to develop that of the understanding or insight into the selflessness of phenomena as well, without which you cannot have the full understanding and insight into selflessness of persons. So this is very clearly mentioned in the commentary to Madhyamaka by Master Tsongkhapa. And so, Sarva Dharma means all phenomena. So, all phenomena here refers to the basis for the designation of a person, mainly the five aggregates and so forth. And then Swabhava Shuddhahang means, so all these aggregates and so forth also are empty, inherently empty of any, empty. So think along this line and meditate on emptiness, Swabhava mantra. And then what brings out the profundity of Tantra is Shunyata Jnana. So Shunyata means emptiness, and Jnana refers to that subjective wisdom or mind which ascertains that of the emptiness. So when your mind is totally absorbed in emptiness, then the gross states of mind will cease. So Shunyata Jnana, so that mind which ascertains the emptiness. And next comes the Vajra, which means indivisible. So what that means is that this mind is totally almost absorbed in emptiness. So it's not like the mind being absorbed in emptiness of a vase as such, but the mind itself is empty, and that emptiness of the mind are of the same nature. They are inseparable. You cannot separate these two from each other. And so, right from the beginning, the mind, when the mind comes into existence, its emptiness also is there. And so, the mind itself is absorbed in its own emptiness. So, Shanada Jnana Swabhava, it shows the emptiness. And then Shanada Jnana refers to that mind, and Vajra refers to that very mind which is meditating or absorbed in its own emptiness. Swabhava means its own nature. So the mind is absorbed in its own final nature, which is empty. So that is when you meditate on that emptiness, you are having a divine pride, or so you are holding a divine pride when your mind is totally dissolved in the emptiness of itself. So you have received the teaching on emptiness the last few days. So if you really have something to show off it here. So meditate on emptiness. So the two selflessnesses, personal and phenomena. So from within that meditation on emptiness, the disciples, wherever you are, at your heart, there is a light tent or circle at your heart, from within which there is a D syllable, and it emits rays of light. So that the darkness of ignorance is dispelled or cleansed, and make offering to the Buddhas, which is the offering of practice, which is the highest offering that you can make. So if you meditate on emptiness, and meditation on emptiness and meditation on bodhicitta, or cultivation of bodhicitta, are the supreme offerings that you can make to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So those of you who have received full-fledged initiations before, from within that state of emptiness, this D syllable transforms into yourself as the Manjushri, holding in your right hand this double-edged sword, and in your left hand you are holding this stem of flower, upala flower, on which is a scripture. So those of you who are engaged in studying philosophical texts, whatever text you are studying, you should imagine that sitting on the upala flower. And you are sitting in full cross-legged position. On your crown, you are adorned with Akshobhya as your lineage lord. So you have taken, you have generated bodhicitta and taken bodhisattva vows, and then you have meditated on the emptiness. So this they make up for both the extensive and the profound paths. And so having meditated yourself as a Manjushri, just as I have introduced to you, you should also imagine the similar Manjushri in the altar, where there is a tsombu, which is like a heap of flour. Good. So from the Manjushri on the crown, then you imagine innumerable Manjushris coming out and emanating, and they dissolve into you. So if you are able to meditate on emptiness, I mean, it would really, and also combine it with bodhicitta. And of course, there is a basis for receiving this blessing. Lametuka. So from the heart of the Lama comes forth this Manjushri and dissolves into you, and thereby you are blessed. So Zahum Bamho, you with this you dissolve. I mean, the Manjushri dissolves into you, finally. And then at the heart of both the Lama and the disciples, there is a wheel with the four spokes. So at the center of it is Om, and then the four spokes have R, Ra, Ba, Za. In the center is Om and A. And then Ra, Ba, Za, Na are on the four spokes. And so the chain of mantra comes from the Guru's heart and enters you through your mouth. So this chain of mantra at the Guru's heart comes up his body, out of his mouth, and enters the disciple's mouth and are placed at your heart. So Om and A are at the center, and then Ra, Pa, Za, Na are in the four directions. So please repeat. From the mouth, from the Lama's heart comes that of the mantra up his body, out of his mouth, and then they come to you and enter your mouth and placed at your heart. And thereby you receive the blessings of the four kinds of intelligence or wisdom. The vast, clear, profound, and that of the swift wisdom. Thereby you receive the blessings so that you go. Please repeat. Omara Bhajanadi, Omara Bhajanadi. Omara Bhajanadi. Please repeat this 21 times together. Omara Bhajanadi, Omara Bhajanadi, Omara Bhajanadi, Omara Bhajanadi, Omara Bhajanadi, Omara Bhajanadi. Omara Bhajanadi, 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 Marabazanadi, 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 Marabazanadi. So that you receive the blessing, so that you are blessed to tread through the five-tiered path, culminating in Buddhahood, for the sake of all sentient beings. So those of you who have not received the full-fledged initiation, you may imagine Manjushri sitting on your crown. So whether you have generated yourself into the Manjushri or not, at your throat, you should imagine D, which is pointing inwards, and at your heart also you should have imagine the syllable, and let us all repeat this the syllable in one breath. Please take in a deep breath, and then in one breath recite this Om Arabazana.
D.
108 times, and then the D at your throat dissolves into the at the heart, and so this helps in retentive memory, and you gain an unforgettable memory. In order to reach omniscient state, it should be based on wisdom. So the ultimate Manjushri is your wisdom, and then the conventional or the provisional Manjushri is the deity Manjushri appearing. And so please say this, Master, please pay attention to me. I, known by this name, from this time onwards until I reach enlightenment, I will take Manjushri as my meditation deity, and on a daily basis I will recite his mantra 100 times each day. Please, Master, pay attention to me. From now on until I reach enlightenment, I shall consider Manjushri as my meditational deity and recite his mantra 100 times. Master, please pay attention to me. From now until I reach enlightenment, I will consider take Manjushri as my meditation deity and recite his mantra 100 times each day. So next is giving blessing. So you have promised to take Manjushri as your meditation deity, and the Master also gives that permission. So that's all. Please repeat. I shall pay heed to your whatever you have instructed to me. From now on, I give myself to you. Please take me as your disciple. So this completes the Arapatana in permission. So on a daily basis, you should recite the Arapatana mantra at least 100 times, and if you get spare times to do retreat, you should be able to do that. So the most important thing is on a daily basis that you should use the critical analytical meditation. So this really is the factor which can transform you. So of course, after having done analytical meditation and having ascertained what you are meditating on, well, then you should do the fixation, the single-pointed concentration practice, so that you are combining both the single-pointed concentration and vipassana. So this time we had the teaching on Bhaviveka's text, of which I have deliberately asked Khenpo Kunga Wangchuk to write the book, the annotated commentary, and received it from him. So I consider as service and contribution to the teaching. I'm also serving Master Bhaviveka who is one of the 17 Nalanda masters. And then there is the on top of the Madhyamaka Karikas, 400 verses, and Madhyamaka Avatara, we have Chandarakshita's ornament of the middle way. And now that we also have the text by Bhaviveka, Madhyamaka Sridaya, and so that we have these texts make up the complete set of texts written by Madhyamaka masters. So, of course, we would say that we are all follower of the Prasangika Madhyamaka. In Bhaviveka's text, he says that we assert that a person's identity is finally that of the mental consciousness. But we reject that as Prasangika Madhyamakas. So in his commentary to Madhyamaka Avatara, where he says that this profound emptiness is will be understood only by those who follow the Madhyamaka Master Nagarjuna's system correctly, and not others, even though they may be very well learned. And in his commentary, he mentions Master Asanga and Vasubandhu. So when you understand that things have no, when you understand the Prasangika Madhyamaka philosophical the emptiness view, what this actually does is destroys all objectification of things. So in order to see the profundity of the higher philosophical systems, you need also to understand the lower systems well. I find Master Bhaviveka to be very kind because of his commentary, the lamp of wisdom, Buddha Palita, criticizing Buddha Palita, Chandrakirti could come up with his critique of Bhaviveka very clearly and precisely in his Prasanapada. So when you do this kind of critical analysis very thoroughly, then you will actually gain better insights into the real understanding of Madhyamaka. When I was receiving teaching from Gen Nyima Rinpoche, and he explained to me on Teldok, which is the consequence of the opposite, and so for about 2 months after his explanation, it really gave me some kind of a special feeling on. So the Indian masters' texts are really helpful to dispel all kinds of doubts about the clinging to true existence. So the teaching discourse on the Madhyamaka Hridaya is completed very successfully this time, and at the end we have a very nice weather, as I said before, about dispelling the darkness of the three worlds. So we hope to see you again, and if I feel physically healthy, I will come to Drepung. So Drepung Gomang and Drepung Losaling, as well as Gadin Shatse and Changse abbots, have already given their invitation to me, a request for me to come to South India. So if I feel healthy, I hope to see you in South India. So that's all. Whatever merit I have created,
May it help to serve the Dharma and particularly the teaching, the tradition of Tsongkhapa. Da Shi Sho. Now, let us say the prayer called Rabjam Gyawa. It's written by the two late tutors, Gyabje Yongdani Rinpoche and Gyabje Chan Rinpoche. Of those kind teachers, both present and past, the miraculous dance of God, speech and mind of innumerable.
Pende dojo ngawa la ye la rajan de zon tamje la daja donsho da beson kanche ngombo denze yazo ye kuze meshin shende lenje jowa chinge lo chide sumle kange ngen shodo shewa namja no same meyo kunsa yewe de zon dambe shige daja donsho da beson na kanche ngombo denze ya Kuze meshe ye yarab, shende lunye duba jinge lo sibe tigo jungla. Dede ngoson jawe yeshe je namda doje jongle me. Rejo pabe yenu namje, daja dongsho dabe son. Kache gombo denzen yazo yin kuze meshe ye yarab. Shende lunye duba jinge lo kache shinda neyen. Ne jo lang san zhu la zhong zhen wei ne song bo wo kan zhe song da jia dong xiu zha wei sui le na gan jin gong bo den zhen yi gu zi mi xie ye ya rab den jie xian de lun ye zhu ba jing do jie cha ge ga da cha ye du mi zhi re bei tun du den da den zin yong wei tu zi jie yi xie qian den den song ya zu da jia dong xiu zha wei sui le na gan jin den zin ya zu yin gu zi mi xie ye ya Shende lunje ruba chinge lo, dedar lo me kyabge jo. Shoda nyene gube solda, mese nying me songa. Daso ganchon robe gonje bo, ngawa lo sa tenzen ya. Sanso me she me yo me no, shomshe yonde doje nyeme. Keba yazo yo me daden, rajan yawa kunge sebe go nye do chakbaram. Chile kunbe nobe nyingbo jen, sheba jejen lunye do. Dede zoden kesa namge go leje nga su chi do doden chodo gundo ravda we gezen sije zemo yen chana be me chela do da so ninge son so da me je kashin guzo shuje yazo da jin so mi jun seje yen denje lo wa me lo ve do do ye me me de go de lo nyo do sho
China.